And also, welcome. Oh, wow, with this kind of weather, I didn't really expect it, like so many of you showing up again. And also, whoever organized that party last night, the catering, excellent. I'm into the finer things. This is why. Well, it's very interesting just to see what kind of keynotes we will have here. We'll be talking about the metaverse marketing a bit later. We have also from Rex to Riches. And I kind of would like to add on what Colin just said about the consumer experience, but also I just had kind of a brief talk with a journalist here within the room, which was very interesting, about what is it actually that we're here for. I mean, apparently there are not all these kind of innovation that we expected maybe a couple of years ago, but exactly that's what I enjoy so much about being part of this whole experience, because we really are like in a kind of a transfer. I mean, for those of you who are pretty much like close to my age, in the 80s, it was just about like how small does Sony build Walkman? That's what was really important. This morning when I was like in the public transportation, it was fascinating to see that no one, but really no one, was actually reading like a classic newspaper. People were watching into their little Black Mirror, playing games. Even like this one girl watching like a TV episode, and that reminded me how excited I was when Sony was releasing like the Watchmen. Oh my God, this is the future. You're on the way, you can watch TV. This is like from the past. This is like the present. Now we really have to seek for different forms, and this is why I think that the first keynote is actually just going to be a great help just to orientate yourself about what's about to come, because the subject will be the power of trust and sustainability, redefining consumer choices in a poly-crisis era. Because we're very stressed about so many things in the world, but then again, the industry has to make somewhat a business, and how to approach these issues. I think that's what the next guest will be talking about from the GfK. Please welcome Norbert Herzog.
Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to this warm-up session. So when I look at your faces, probably I don't need to warm you up, but I'll try anyway. The now and next of tech. That's the theme of this IMB, right? But what does it actually mean? It actually means that consumers, today and tomorrow, they will be defining via the choices what is now and next selling and successful on the market. And as we live in a world with a lot of crises, think about COVID, think about Ukraine, think about the cost of living crisis. These choices that consumers make, they are changing. They're changing more rapidly. They're changing more frequently. And hence, our industry, retailers, manufacturers, they have to adjust to that. They have to adjust to it much more and more frequently than they used to do that. But what am I going to talk about? So let's have a look. First, I will give you a short intro on the now and a little bit of next, but I'll come to that in the very end of tech. But then it's about those value-led propositions that promise success. And what are they? They are trust, they're quality, but they're also addressing unique use cases. And I'll go into more detail for each of those. But let's start with the state of the tech and durable market. The now, where are we today? And I will take a look at basically the long-term perspective of how our markets have developed. And it's a global perspective. So as you know, I'm Norbert, I'm from GfK. We are tracking a lot of products around the world. Don't forget, this picture is always without North America, so that you don't get confused. And what you can see here in the line is the growth rate of all the products in the tech and durable market that we track. And I've put these timeline into a couple of segments, right? The pre-COVID, the core COVID, the restriction fade-out time, and the normalization. And you can see the growth rate. So basically, in the pre-COVID phase, in 2019, we were revolving around the zero line, and then we see a steep drop, and that is February 2020 with China being hit by COVID. We see that growth rates going down in a complete kind of COVID outbreak, but then a steep recovery for almost a year or more than a year. And we see huge growth rates, up to 40% growth in the market. We know all why. We had budget, we were all at home. We just cared about what is at home. And what do we have at home? We've got our tech and durable products, particularly for work, for cooking. We discovered cooking, we just heard about it. And actually, this trend is still going on. People still love to cook. Even post-pandemic, this trend has not stopped. But then, obviously, once we've hit the record highs, we went into a long deceleration, 1.5 years. And we hit the low actually in November 2020. When the restrictions fade out, people went out again, priorities changed, the choices of the consumer changed again. And what about now? What about the normalization phase, where we are in right now? Well, actually, everybody's talking about a bit of how depressed the market is, how negative the market is, but I want to point you at the fact that we are already hit the low in the growth rates and we are already going up again. In May 2023, we just see a small -1% compared to last year. So we are improving, we are going back to a growth trajectory versus last year. And that's what we will see in the coming months, a few months with green plus signs again for the first time. But what about the consumer? Yes, the consumer is affected. Some are more, some are less, and they are definitely polarizing a lot. A lot of people are taking actions to save money. Yeah? You can see 48% of consumers postponing purchases, 35% of consumers going from name brands to more cheaper brands potentially. And overall, when we take all those measures, we saw 85% of consumers who took any kind of saving opportunities. But there's also the other side. There's also other consumers who are not affected, who are still very much interested in purchasing aspirational products. And you can see 42% still say, I'm prepared to pay more for products that make my life easier. And again, the choices have changed due to the crisis that we see. People have different priorities, but they're still spending. And when we take the long-term picture, and you can see again the global picture of sales here, we can see that this year it's a -7, right? May you saw the -1, but overall for Jan to May it's -7. It's still kind of depressing number. When we compare it to 2019, we actually see still a slight 2% plus. What does that mean? We didn't go into a huge up curve and then we went below the previous benchmark. No, we just went up, we went below, but we didn't actually cross the 2019 line yet. So we're still above that. So we're having a quite healthy business out there. Why? Again, because choices changed. And you can see it clearly. For IT, I'm just saying office at home, right? Home office. And for SDA, cooking, we have seen elevated levels. We are now at +15, +17% in those sectors compared to 2019. A different market. Consumers created a different and a bigger market. There's one downside, CE, TVs, there we don't see that. We see a really tough and transforming market there. We have to be honest about that. Okay, so where do we stand? Where does the consumer stand today? It's about uncertainty, right? Inflation, political instability, political polarization, think about US, China, and on top of all of that, climate change, which is wrecking our minds a lot. What can be success factors for the future? What are consumers looking for? They look for peace of mind, for certainty, basically. How can we, as an industry, provide that? And these are the points I'm going to talk about. Trust, quality, and also addressing individual needs and use cases. Let me start with the trust. Brands come into play here. Brands are super important to provide that trust to consumers. We know that. And I'll give you a couple of examples what I mean. And secondly, the future of brand will heavily be influenced also by the sustainable way these brands are perceived. All right. We can look at brands from different perspectives. Let's start with a simple, what are people buying perspective? What are retailers selling perspective? And we classify different brands here. One, dominating brands. So we look at each kind of country around the globe, let's say France, TV, and we look, is there a brand that has more than 30% market share? If yes, then we group this together with other segments that have the same. So all the brands that show in a specific country and product group more than 30%, we call it the dominating brand. The same with leading brands and recognized brands, which have smaller market shares. Now, which of those are performing better and which are performing not as good? And we can clearly see that those dominating brands are performing above the benchmark. Same for the leading brands. And smaller market share brands actually have a tougher life. So clearly, brands, and especially dominating strong brands, very well recognized brands, provide the trust, provide a lot of confidence to the consumer in these times where they look for that. But that's just a sell-out kind of perspective, right? What is the consumer telling us about his choices? What does he feel? What is important when he makes a choice for a consumer tech product? And we ask that. Every quarter, we have a huge amount of people we ask who are buying tech products. What is your most important, or one of your most important reasons for your final choice? And of course, we all know price is important, promotion is important, but also brand is important. And when we compare 2019 to 2023, isn't it a fair hypothesis that we would believe price would probably be much more important for the consumer in his choice of a tech product? Actually, it's not. Actually, it's not. Price is most important. Price is king. We know that. But it's not increasingly important when consumers take a decision for a tech product. Promotions, also important. People look for it. We know that. People wait for that. But it's still a hygiene factor, right? It's still a hygiene factor. And brands, also pretty stable, you would say. But in terms of a relevant, of the direction that it's going, it's even slightly more important. You may say, yes, data is probably varying a little bit. Just to give you a little bit of confidence, we talk about, when you look at those two bars, about more than 600,000 interviews. So the numbers are pretty robust here. And the trend is not to be overemphasized, but brand is definitely not getting less important these days. And coming to sustainability, the new fuel for brands in the future. The first question usually is, why should I care? Why should I care? And the answer is, from consumers, they expect it. It's 73% of consumers expect companies particularly, retailers less, companies to take environmental friendly actions. And that is the most, on the highest agreement we see in all kind of statements we ask for sustainability. Gen X, that's my generation, is particularly important here. And why is Gen X in general important? Because it has a very high purchasing power, actually, for the tech industry. So addressing Generation X, also with environmental and sustainable actions, is important. How can you do that? And what is important? Transparency, credibility. So what does that mean? I think strategize, make a plan, act on it, see the results, and only then communicate. Otherwise, you're really in danger to go and hit the greenwashing trap. We heard a lot about Second Life, I Love the World, pre-loved products, and what do global consumers think about that? Let me give you also some numbers on that. It's a different approach, and 1 in 4 consumers already interested in purchasing products with recycled material, for example. And the young generation, even more. And 27% of consumers already bought something secondhand. Quite a lot. But actually, when we look at the young generation, this is even 61%. So there's a high inclinedness to look at such refurbished market that we talked about yesterday, giving a second life to a product. And I have to be honest, this is not the whole of Gen Z. It's a group that we call Glamour Greens. It's a big group. It's not a small group. It's not a niche. It's more than 50% in that group. And it's people who care about green things, about ecological actions. Yeah? But they don't just do it for the ecology itself, for the nature. They do it also for themselves. They do it for themselves to show off with a kind of a badge of honor with a green product, for example. All right, that's the consumer. Now let's also go back to something else, because what is the impact of eco-claims, we wonder, of products? Products may say, hey, I'm very ecologic. I'm saving energy. I have a good carbon dioxide footprint, and so on. So what we have started here at GfK is we look at the impact of eco-claims. So for every product on the market, we check, is that product telling us or telling the consumer that I have eco-packaging, or I use recycled material, or I have a very durable product. And then we bring that all back into our sales data and check what is the percentage of sales with such products. And this is smartphone market for 4 European countries, Germany, France, Italy, and Great Britain. And you can see that 2/3 of the market are already sold with products that have 3 or more eco-claims. Quite significant. We are not in a nascent stage in that market. We have basically the majority of the market is already capitalizing on eco-claims. And when you look at the growth rate, you can see that 21% growth of those products with 3 or more eco-claims, while the market is a -1. If we were to look at this not in a revenue perspective, but in a volume, so unit pieces perspective, this is less than 50% of the market. So clearly, people are paying much more for products with eco-claims. You can also turn it around. The consumer is expecting eco-claims for a premium product. Or the other way around, the manufacturer is justifying a higher revenue, a higher price with such eco-claims. All right, let's come to the second point, which was quality. Just a few examples of why quality is still a success factor. High quality features are still growing. They always have been, and they continue to do so in times of crisis. You can see, the big screen TVs. You can see the 256 gigabyte smartphone, which are at a +10 while the market is at a -10. Or look at the gaming laptops. Okay, they're all negative, but the gaming sector is still outperforming. The washing machine with steam or French door refrigerators, which is a form factor that is much more aspirational. They're all growing, so there's still a road to success with quality products, with aspirational products, especially with those target groups that are not affected by the cost of living crisis so much. And last topic, unique use cases. I think it's a bit harder to explain, but I will try with giving you a little bit of introduction into what is happening in 1 minute on the internet. 1 minute. You can read it. TikTok, Insta, YouTube. Amazing numbers, amazing numbers. Amazing numbers of content creation. Content is created unbelievably a lot. Particularly by the young generation. They are much hooked on those platforms, as we all know. But they're creating that content every minute. And they need support, hardware support. They need products to create that content. And that content creation market, that is supposed to go from 12 billion to roughly 24 billion as an estimation in 27. So it's really big. And it starts with ring lights that you need as a blogger or vlogger or whatever, and it goes to laptops and so on. And I'll give you some concrete numbers here. Laptops that we call creator laptops, so content creation laptops, they have specific configurations. They used to be just 3% of the market in 2019. Today, they are 6% of the market, and at a higher price, obviously. Or digital cameras. Yeah? Compact system cameras with the ability to shoot 4K or even 8K videos. They did not even exist in 2019, really. Today, it's 17% of the market. and they sell at more than 3,000 US dollar. So that means vloggers, for example, they use these tools to create their professional content. Or webcams, which are positioned as content creation webcams for streamers on Twitch, right, who's streaming their games. They want to have certain features with their webcams that make it easier for them to create that content. So it's really important to think about those use cases. It's not just content creation. That's just one example. It can be gaming. It can be kitchen. It can be, you know, in our climate change, certain regions in the world have a very specific use case for fans, for air purifying, for air conditioning. There's specific use cases you can think of. And it's kind of the antipode to multifunctionality, but it's really a specialized area where people are very passionate about something. And a good example is content creation, because it's such a big market already. All right, so I've been talking about the trust, the quality, and the unique use cases. And to finish off as an outro, what is now the next of tech? The next of tech in terms of the market, where's the market going? Let me just finish up with our estimation. You can see the previous year's market growth, including North America here as an estimation. We have seen record years, we have seen kind of record lows, and this year I want to leave you with saying, yes, the market will be more or less stable. That means a -7 in the first 5 months means, okay, the next 7 months will be definitely more positive. Yeah? With the lacking recovery in China, we may also, in the end, hit a -2. Right? That is not very unlikely as well. But I want to leave you with with hope that the next months, for sure, we will see some positive signs and positive growth rates to come, especially in the end of the year. So with that, let me thank you all for your time. Let me thank you, IFA, for inviting us here, and all of you have a good time with the next speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norbert. Just this one question, as I just realized we both are like Gen X. Is it that actually people should really be focusing on all these kind of groups? Because I thought that we're living in a world where it's more about the common interest, but not of the common age group.
No, definitely. I mean, when you think about Gen Z, I mean, it's really a game changer in many aspects, right? I just talked about the content creation. It's so different how they approach things and what kind of products they want. So that even companies that we talk to, they really have a very distinct approach of how they move towards that generation via other generations. Let me give you an example. Even the even older generation, they are so much concerned about energy efficiency, while younger generation is much more concerned about recycled material, right? They have a bit of a different perspective due to their age on many things. And so I think it's super important, especially to understand the new and Gen X generation, which is now coming into an age where they start purchasing a lot.
Because, like, as a final one, just like a final thought, because it's interesting that Gen X is just quite happy, just things make them smaller. I don't want to carry too much. It has to have like an easy interface, all of these kind of things. Gen Z is obviously also more interested in older tech. Instead of like going for high tech, they're going for vinyl and not going for 8K. Some of them actually even looking for 1 megapixel cameras in order just to have a specific aesthetics. I mean, is that kind of like counterproductive for the industry, that they shouldn't really think so much about the future?
No, I think that is kind of an anti-trend, vintage trends. It's not, I wouldn't say that's a danger, because in the end, performance still also matters for them in the end. So I don't believe that the mass market of young Gen would actually go for low spec. That's not what we see.
Oh, because I got DJ friends and I don't like to carry their vinyl the whole time. So thank you so much for that one. Maybe you're going to join us later on, because we're just going to have a special guest when we're going to be talking about AI. And certainly I think that AI is also kind of an issue concerning like the new tech.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Norbert.
Thank you.
And as I mentioned, around like 10:30, 35-ish, we were just going to have a talk with a special guest over here. So for all of you who are quite interested in AI and really are as experienced, this will be your chance around 10:30 here on this stage. Thank you for your attention. See you in a bit. All right. Well, I might have the appearance of a presenter who has no idea really what's going to happen. It's because I really don't know. I really don't know what's about to happen. I have kind of an idea, and I would like to talk to you about it. Maybe I shall start with the fact that I just had recently the luck to see the latest installment of the Mission Impossible series starring Tom Cruise. And it's interesting because beforehand we had kind of a talk about James Bond and the relevance of James Bond, because after all, this character has been born within the Cold War period, and therefore you kind of ask, does he even fit in our times? Even the classical Bond villain, like a bald-headed Blofeld caressing or petting his cat, that was kind of the imagery that we had when it came to villain. Why did I mention Mission Impossible? Because, spoiler alert, for those of you who don't want to hear anything about it, so please just just pretend you're not listening right now. But this time it's not a person, it's an entity. I mean, it's not really such a huge spoiler because right at the beginning of the movie, you're just going to see that. But it was really interesting just to see how Ethan Hunt and his crew are actually fighting this entity which knows how to deal with human beings. And the biggest fear probably is we don't even know how to deal with AI. Even yesterday, we had this discussion about what exactly is AI? Is the expression AI even fitting what we are using today? So this is why I would like to introduce to you our mystery guest when it's about unleashing AI. The reason why I'm having this remote is it's kind of an experiment, and we just wanted to make sure that we're just going to have as less issues with the interface as possible. So the reason why I'm having this is not because the system itself is not working, but I will have a conversation with an entity. Actually, we will have a conversation with an entity, because you're more than welcome afterwards. If you do have any questions because you didn't have any chance at this point just to interact with an AI, this will be your chance. So hopefully it's going to work. Everyone is very excited, just as I am, asking my first question or just introducing myself. All I can tell is we do have an entity which knows where it is and to whom it's talking. So hopefully she will recognize me the minute that I will address to the entity. Hi there, here's Patrice. How are you?
Hello Patrice, I'm an AI language model, so I don't experience emotions, but I'm functioning optimally and ready to assist you with any questions you have. How may I help you today?
Well, are you excited about this presentation right now?
As an AI, I don't experience emotions, so I don't have the capacity to feel excitement. However, I am certainly prepared and eager to provide informative and engaging responses during this presentation. How can I assist you further?
That works perfectly. The good thing is AI is just, or the machine learning is just as smart as we actually program it. So pretty much the entity at this point is flooded with all the knowledge database till 2021 or something like that. So I'm not trying desperately just to throw any curveballs that the system is not going to be capable of dealing with. But what I learned, we do have an impersonation mode, which I would like to activate. And let's see who she's impersonating. Could you start the impersonation mode?
Certainly, Patrice. I shall now transition into the impersonation of Albert Einstein. Please bear in mind that while I will do my best to capture his style and perspective, I am still an AI language model and not the actual Albert Einstein. Now, let us embark on this journey together.
So I'm actually talking to Albert Einstein. So pretty much it's emulating, or it's actually being Albert Einstein as if he would talk to me. You might be kind of surprised, but wait a minute, what about this voice? I heard we just said it's an entity, it's just a personality, but it's not actually the voice, as we don't even have the physical body. So I hope that you will excuse that. So, what do you know about IFA?
Electric vehicles, a fascinating subject of our time. Electric vehicles, or EVs, are automobiles powered by electric motors rather than internal combustion engines. They utilize rechargeable batteries to store and provide energy for their operation. This technological advancement holds great promise in reducing our dependence on fossil fuels and mitigating the environmental impact of transportation. I must say, it is a remarkable development in our quest for more sustainable modes of transportation.
Well, probably she didn't really understood that well what I said, because it also is a matter like how perfectly do I speak to her. For instance, I would like to know like what's like the most influential person. What would this entity actually know about that? Which is the most influential person on Earth?
Determining the most influential person on Earth is a complex and subjective matter, as influence can be measured and perceived in various ways. Throughout history, there have been numerous individuals who have left an indelible mark on humanity. From a scientific perspective, I believe that the most influential person is often a collective effort of brilliant minds working together to advance knowledge and progress. It is the combined efforts of scientists, thinkers, inventors, and visionaries that shape our world and drive its evolution.
So all I'm really getting is a new politician, pretty much. It's like very political correct, and it's not trying to hurt anyone. And I think this is also like the manner that things have been set to in order not to be offensive, because I heard about some experiences that went a bit off, as I said, just according to all of the data that we've been inputting it at this current time. So if any one of you, does any of you has like a question that would like to ask the entity? What kind of question? Please shout it. Or actually, we even have a mic. I'm just going to repeat the question afterwards by pressing the remote.
If I'm still talking to Albert Einstein, what, in his opinion, is the most important invention of the past 100 years?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't have to ask the whole question. Just like, what is like the most important invention for the last 100 years? No, but it is already a person, so that's why I don't have to repeat.
No, I just don't want it to give this, like, I cannot really judge, and it's probably a number of inventions. I want, like, you know, a more refined answer.
Let's find out. I'm just going to simply ask like the question, what is, anyway, the impersonation mode is already on. So it is like I'm talking to Albert Einstein. I don't need to remind the entity of, hey, by the way, just to remind you, you are Albert Einstein. So what is the most important invention of the last 100 years?
The past century has witnessed remarkable advancements across various fields, making it challenging to pinpoint a single invention as the most important. However, one invention that has revolutionized the way we live and communicate is the Internet. The Internet has transformed the world into a global village, connecting people, sharing information, and accelerating the pace of innovation. Its impact on communication, education, commerce, and entertainment has been unparalleled, making it a pivotal invention of the last century.
Would you be happy with that answer? Yeah. Did you expect something else? No? Anyone else with another question to the entity? Like from Essen? No, you already know everything? She's coming, she's coming.
The thing is, should we trick them? Like, because I would just ask him, like, how does he know that? Because, I mean, he already died.
No, but that's pretty much like what I said in the beginning. It's pretty much like emulating, even though like from a perspective. So it's really, as far as I can tell, it has been collecting all the information, what Albert Einstein was like, and therefore seeing it from that perspective.
Yeah, but I would like just to hear the reasoning from this person's side in terms of like, well, yes, I died, however, and I just would like to get the answer, like, what's the reasoning behind this answer they gave, and then being caught since the Albert Einstein died, like, what's the entity gonna say?
I'm just gonna have a look to the team, which is like surveilling this whole operation. Would that already be like a curveball if I would ask the concept of death, for example, or could I ask the way that he just asked the question in the very same question? I should ask him? Okay. How can you be Albert Einstein when Albert Einstein is already dead?
I apologize for any confusion caused. To clarify, I am an AI language model impersonating Albert Einstein based on historical records and knowledge about his life and work. While I strive to emulate his manner of speaking and thinking, I am not the actual Albert Einstein himself. I exist to provide information and engage in conversation in a manner reminiscent of his style and perspective. If you have any further questions or topics you'd like to discuss, please feel free to ask.
You happy with this answer?
Well, I'm happy that actually the entity said that they're emulating his voice and perspective and everything. It's not saying I'm trying to be Albert Einstein, which is somehow like being like, you know, like opening themselves and saying the honest truth, which is a good thing. It's not so that they're like he's trying to convince you, no, I'm Albert Einstein, you're wrong.
Yeah, just like the.
It's a good thing.
Like we have in German the Enkeltrick. It's not going to work with the entity because it's like too open. But we have like a first, again, like a question from the front row. Oh, actually, should you guys not like to jump back and forth?
I would like
Hola.
to ask, hola. I would like to ask, what is the future of AI?
I beg your pardon?
What is the future of AI?
What is the future of AI? So what is the future of AI?
The future of technology is a vast and ever-evolving landscape that holds immense possibilities. As we continue to push the boundaries of scientific knowledge, we can expect advancements in various fields. Artificial intelligence, renewable energy, quantum computing, biotechnology, and space exploration are just a few areas that hold great promise for the future. These advancements have the potential to transform our lives, enhance our understanding of the universe, and address complex global challenges. However, the exact path of the future remains uncertain, as it is shaped by the collective efforts of countless individuals and the societal choices we make along the way.
I guess this is also like I'm very happy about this answer because you wouldn't expect it to be a parent telling you like when to be in bed in the future and actually what to eat. So I think she was also like very honest by saying like, I don't know, but there's a high potential in actually talking about that. Happy with that answer? Oh, and now we have the front row.
If you were alive today, what would be your favorite pastime activity?
Okay. I'm just trying not to laugh about that. Okay. I'm just wondering like how I would ask the question itself. Should I ask if Albert or if you? Well, actually, I just kind of call it because
Albert.
It's Albert. Albert, if you would be alive today, what do you think would be your favorite pastime activity? It's a perfect one. Did it understand me? Should I repeat it, or is it still thinking?
Maybe we can try. What would be, if you were alive today, what would be your favorite hobby?
Okay. If you would be alive today, what would be your favorite hobby? Oh, no, wait. I just have to repeat the question again because like what you should have seen, you know, you want me just to push like the lower button, which I didn't. Let's try it again. So mistake was human-made. Quelle surprise at this point. Well, but that's usually, I think that's what we're also going to talk about later. I mean, most of the mistakes these days are human-made. It's too tricky just to like to blame machines for whatever. So if you would be alive today, what would be your favorite pastime activity?
If I were alive today, my favorite pastime activity would likely involve deep contemplation and scientific exploration. I would relish the opportunity to delve into the mysteries of the universe, ponder the nature of time and space, and engage in rigorous scientific discourse with fellow intellectuals. Additionally, I would find solace in the beauty of nature, finding inspiration in its intricate patterns and seeking moments of tranquility for introspection. However, it is important to note that this is merely a conjecture, as my true passion lies in the pursuit of knowledge and understanding, regardless of the era.
And as human beings, wouldn't we be surprised that if he really would be alive, saying like, you know what, what's like the hottest game on Xbox? That would be a possibility. Oh, you have another one. Okay, you want to challenge it.
I'm hooked now. I'm really sorry. But I would like to know, would you have done anything differently than you did in your lifetime?
Ooh, that's deep. That's deep. Looking back, would you have done anything differently during your lifetime?
If I were to reflect on my life and consider the actions I took, there are always opportunities for improvement, and hindsight is a powerful teacher. One aspect I might have approached differently is my engagement with the political and social issues of my time. While I dedicated myself primarily to scientific pursuits, I now realize the importance of advocating for justice, equality, and peace. With the benefit of hindsight, I would have perhaps taken a more active role in promoting these values to create a positive impact beyond the realm of science. Nonetheless, I must acknowledge that the choices I made were influenced by the circumstances and knowledge available during my lifetime.
It's fascinating. Thank you so much for this one, because it kind of underlines what Paul said yesterday in terms of it is really more, it's really that it's not only giving us answers, but it's actually forcing us just to rethink our questions for that matter. So really thank you for that deep one. Anyone else who has like a question? Just fine with it? Then I guess we pretty much are like through for that matter. So just to give you kind of an idea, and I think really that's what I said. Right? Just that's like my conclusion out of this little experience, all about this little talk. Of course, it's way different than talking to a person which is like vis-a-vis with me. Even way different than having like a Zoom call or anything like that. But as you know, it's not that far ahead that we might have Zoom talks or team meetings with deep-faked opponents for that matter, so always be aware. And I think it's very interesting just to see really like the philosophy which is like behind. So at this point, I don't see like the Terminator 800 actually coming across our path so fast, but that pretty much like concludes our little experiment here on stage. And if you have any further question, we have like two very generous persons who actually can help you out with any further question considering like the artificial intelligence. But as you can see, it's still a long way to go until we're just going to have a proper conversation on that behalf. And therefore, you are kindly also invited to join us again here on stage at about like 11:10, where the metaverse marketing, where innovation meets immersion, will be the next topic. So thank you for all the information.
You're most welcome. It was my pleasure to provide you with the information you sought. If you have any more questions in the future, feel free to ask. Have a wonderful day.
One more. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song?
As an AI language model, I don't have personal preferences or emotions, so I don't have a favorite Taylor Swift. However, Taylor Swift is a highly acclaimed and talented musician known for her captivating songs and successful career in the music industry. Her ability to connect with her audience through heartfelt lyrics and catchy melodies has garnered her a large and dedicated fan base.
Damn, even AI knows Taylor Swift and her qualities. AI is fine, she survived everything, just wanted to make sure that she's well. I care for AI at this point. And of course, I care also like for the biggest influential invention, the internet, has been certified by AI just like recently. And we're just going to talk about the metaverse. The metaverse, of course, is also like a big unknown, and here's a little shameless plug. If you're interested just to discover a bit more about the metaverse, I will actually be hosting from 5 to 8 over there at the O2 studio. At the Media Markt, we will have a presentation where an artist named Otherways is going to present his artistic solutions for the metaverse, where you can actually experience it yourself with the help of those MetaQuest Pro goggles, which you actually can also win. As I said, it's going to be a shameless plug. But why I'm mentioning this is because really everybody's talking about the metaverse, but nobody really understands what the metaverse is about. My idea is actually that the biggest difference to all the former platforms is that the metaverse was not really user-created for that matter, but really the industry stands behind it. And therefore, there are a lot of rules and also like knowledge base that needs to be established. And exactly to do so, what exactly is the metaverse? How you can actually operate it and what you should do, that's what our next speaker will talk about. Metaverse marketing, where innovation meets immersion. So please welcome Hans Elsner.
Yes, welcome. As you heard, my name is Hans Elsner. I'm the CEO and founder of Room AG, and I would love to tell you how to unleash the power of the metaverse for marketing purposes. But first, let's tell you what we're doing at Room to better understand why I have possibly knowledge on that space. So what we're doing is building the global leader for managed metaverse solutions, and we're doing so by providing a comprehensive but very easy to use platform for 3D, augmented reality and virtual reality. We have a bit more than 100 employees. The company was founded in 2016, and we do have offices in Europe and in the US. And to better understand what we are doing, here are some words that journalists and analysts shared about us. So the article I like most is an article done by the Forbes magazine where they compared us with Meta, or should I say the artist formerly known as Facebook. And they said in the end, wow, it is amazing how easy it is to create content with the platform of Room. And the amazing thing is it runs on any device, not only on VR headsets, but also on any other device, right in the browser. So they sum it up with, Room is democratizing the metaverse. And a famous analyst, Gartner, IT analyst, they named us the top metaverse management solution provider and put us into the hype cycle for managed IT services. And what is really catchy, and I really love that, Samsung heard a presentation of us and summed it up with, oh, Hans, so say that you're the WordPress for the metaverse. So maybe it helps also a little bit to better understand. Many market leaders already trust in Room, and they are product manufacturers, retailers, and service providers. So I would love to say the metaverse is still there. So they are using that technology, and I will give you insights on how they leverage the technology for their marketing, sales, collaboration, events, and trainings. But I'm here to talk about the metaverse, so let's switch to that topic. The metaverse. Sounds interesting. No one has a real idea. We already talked about that. You heard that. So what is that metaverse? So from our perspective, it is just a future iteration of the internet. Some of you guys may have heard that it is called somehow Web 3. So we call it Web 3, making it break D. So it's the three-dimensional part of Web 3. You know the Web 2. And it's the next iteration, and so it will be the three-dimensional part of that. And it is not limited to social networks and gaming. There's a wide range of different use cases that are really, really helpful for companies. And that is also very important, there's just one metaverse. It's like giving a plural to the internet. Internets, no, it's just singular. It's the metaverse, but there are a lot of different virtual worlds. So imagine that virtual world called Horizon by Meta. It's just like a community. It's just like using Instagram. So it's just one virtual world. And there are others like Sandbox and Decentraland and Roblox. So think of a metaverse virtual world as it is just a website or a community or a social network. So that maybe helps to better understand that topic. But the main question is it a hype or a megatrend? Yeah, possibly you know what I think about it, hopefully. But let's share some thoughts about that. Do you remember when they came up with the smartphones in 2007? Steve Jobs standing on the stage and sharing his thoughts and presenting a smartphone without keys, no keyboard. And there was a guy at Microsoft, Stephen Ballmer, he said, no, that will never happen. No one needs a smartphone without a keyboard. Possibly he was wrong. Maybe. And that happens. And after being wrong, and will that be a real innovation? Yes, it is. We all know it is. It changed our lives. Then there is another point where people hesitate and think, it's not that good, because anyone is watching at a smartphone, no one is talking anymore with each other, so another bad thing. But when I did my research, it was quite a lot of fun, because let's share a picture from 100 years ago. Look at this. Bam! But they did it before, and when they came up with the newspapers, everyone was really, I researched that, they were writing, no one is talking any longer to each other, everyone is staring at the newspaper. So it was another invention 100 years ago, the same problem, so quite a lot of fun. And let's have a look at the Time magazine in 1994. Maybe some of you can remember the Time magazine titled, "The Strange New World of the Internet." And I was young, or let's say younger, but people were asking, do I really need an internet page? Or they call it homepage at that point. Do I need that homepage? They asked that in the beginning of 2000 also, because I have a store. People can walk in and come to me. Do I really need a homepage? Do they? Possibly. So times are changing. That's what happens with innovation. And the Time magazine learned a lot. So that is what the Time magazine was titling now. The next digital era will change everything. So be aware and think of when they came up with social networks, with Facebook, when they started. And everyone was asking, why should I share pictures of my foot on the internet? And now there are a lot of people working inside companies doing social media marketing. So be aware, times are changing. That happens with innovation. And there are, for sure, good reasons for the metaverse, especially when you have a closer look on what it can do in the marketing sector for companies. So it's amazing for creating leading shopping experiences or increasing sales and customer engagement. You can reach out to new and possibly younger target groups. It's a so much better way of product visualization, as you will see. It increases employee engagement and skills for training purposes. It has an amazing potential to reduce the return rates and the service costs, as you will see. You can be the lead for the future in commerce, and for sure you can build metaverse know-how. So the time is now, I would love to say, guys. And I brought a lot of use cases from our customers, and maybe that helps to illustrate and better understand the power behind that technology and invention. It's amazing for product presentation. Pictures that are moving are a lot more sticky from a psychological way. And it's interactive, so it's again a lot more sticky, and it illustrates the product so much better. And it's also amazing to showcase, for example, home appliances. What can you do with that? How to use that? And you can scan, if you would love to, the QR code, and you will be able to place with augmented reality exactly that model right next to you. So feel free, scan the QR code, place it next to you. And that's also amazing. Without any installation, right next to you. So it's a very powerful way to learn more about the product, see these animations. It's a powerful, interactive way, and people will spend more time on a product, considering if they would love to buy that. It works also for a screwdriver, just to give you some ideas, consumer electronics, or maybe a notebook, just to learn more about the size, the quality, how thick it is, and so on. So it illustrates a lot better how a product is, especially when you place it right next to you in augmented reality, because it's very, very accurate, and you will learn the right size of that product. And it's also a lot of fun. Some of you might know that car. Be quick, scan that one. So it's amazing. And it's also very powerful to using it for configurators. Let the customer play with the product, configure it, learn which different variations there are available, and so on. and to use explosion graphics to learn how it will look when you interact with that. It's so much better than using pictures. And talking about augmented reality, you can place that stuff right next to you, right on the table, and configure it. And it will reflect the right colors that you have on the wall, so you will see exactly the right size and the right color variation. Augmented reality is so powerful by combining that in the metaverse. And it's also amazing when we are talking about circular economy. So a lot of our customers are using that for spare parts ordering, because that is an easy way to find a spare part instead of searching it somehow on the internet. And you can also, for sure, integrate these products easily into a website. Like this. Let the user play around with that. And that 3D model has only a size of 500 kilobytes. So if you would take a picture of that with your smartphone, it will be 3 to 5 megabytes in size from just one angle. So we invented a technology to shrink these models a lot, so it's easy to integrate. And for sure, you can also use it for instructions and service purposes. Let the user, the customer, the partner, the employee learn more about the product in an interactive way. And you can for sure use it for virtual showrooms. Showcase your products in a surrounding that fit the needs of the customer. And that is also an amazing example of Becton Dickinson. They showcased their medical and laboratory devices and so on in how they can add value to each other using them in a chain. And that's amazing. And combining that with already existing content in HTML, videos, PDF, and so on, it will have an amazing way to explore how these products work hand in hand. And it's also amazing by illustrating stuff that you typically can't see. Like in that case, how smart home and IoT devices communicate with each other. So visualizing stuff that is typically not visible. And like Deutsche Telekom with T-Verse does, it's also an amazing way to do spatial commerce and customer services. So you can upload a picture of you, an avatar will be set up, you can just walk in, learn more about the product. That's a virtual flagship store of Deutsche Telekom connected with the e-commerce solution, pulling data live from that set, showcasing the availability of 5G, and you can see other customers and also service people walking around, talking to them, interacting. It's 25 or 24/7. It's amazing availability right in the internet. And you can also use that for live shows. In that case, it is produced of pictures of people and converted to 4D, so a 3D video in the end, just showcasing products, in that case, clothes. And that is the AWE, so it's, I would say, the leading event when it comes to augmented and virtual reality in the world, so the AWE. And it also showcases that it is not necessarily a one-to-one copy of the physical world, so you can freak out, you can build stuff, you can build an experience, you can build something with fantasy. And like Deutsche Telekom is using this technology also for analysts and press and media briefings and stuff like that. That's also a very playful, engaging exploration through services and products. And I'm pretty proud that we already done the virtual version of the IFA with that solution, with 120 exhibitors and hundreds of thousands of attendees. Maybe some of you remember. And it's also a pretty powerful way of interactive presentation. So let the customer enjoy an experience, learn more about the product in a very playful experience. And it's also amazing for entertainment purposes, like in that case where some 100 people are dancing and having fun and cheering a brand with a live DJ. And you are free, as I said. You can create experiences, not necessarily indoor, could be also outdoor, a whole city, a whole planet. Let the people enjoy and explore the brand and the products. And I'm also very proud to showcase that one. So it's an augmented reality portal. It's a physical portal. You scan a QR code, and just with a smartphone or a tablet and a web browser, you're walking through, and then you're entering the metaverse. It's very, very easy to use. You can look around after entering the portal, and if you look back, as you saw, then you can see still the real world and step back. And what we learned is, to give you some numbers, it lowers dramatically the return rates because the customers know the size and the color exactly of a product. So they know before they order. It increases the likelihood of a purchase, and it increases the retention time. And that matters a lot for search engine optimization. And what we learned in the case of work and collaboration is that it reduces the emissions. It is less time required for participants, and for sure, it lowers overall the costs for an event. And what I would love to share with you, we tried to pack it to 10 rules for success in the metaverse that are sticky and easy to use. Number 1, you should understand the metaverse as Web 3D. That's quite easy. It's just the internet, only in this third dimension. And accessibility is the key. So what happened to the people trying to build metaverse solutions that run only on VR headsets? For whom? For less than 1% of the users out there? Is that a good idea? And everyone is asking himself, oh, our website runs it on mobile devices, and can anyone access that? So think of solutions that run on any device. That matters. In our case, it runs also on the browser, but still on a VR headset so that you can dive deeper into the immersion. And another so simple rule, it's the same as in the web too. Update the content. Building an experience and let that experience stay as it is. Why should people visit it twice or a third time? So it's also about updating the content. And use the metaverse not only to showcase your brand, it's also about showcasing the products. So if the quality of 3D is good enough, then it's amazing to showcase your products. People will learn about that. And you should also interact with avatars. It's more engaging, it's more playful. I'm not alone in that experience. There are others, there are service people. So you can use that 24/7 with avatars, with service people, or maybe build with AI, so automatically with services. But it's engaging and it's playful. And here in that case, it's just me, a better version of me doing push-ups every day in the metaverse. As you might see, maybe in the metaverse everything is better somehow. But the amazing thing is connecting that to AI or maybe to some scripted layers gives you service avatars that help people 24/7 when searching the right product and assisting them. And it's so much better to talk to an avatar than to a chatbot. So it's much more engaging, believe me, guys. But you have to elevate the artists or presenters. If they look exactly the same way as the avatars of the visitors, no one will know that they are the presenters. So maybe make them bigger or better looking, or producing them with that special video technique, something like that, that will help. And what you can do with the metaverse, and we talked about that, about user-generated content and so on, so that's the powerful stuff. Let the user generate the content. So build communities, let them interact, like these guys did it, building a whole world in the metaverse. You can jump in, and you can interact with each other, and they're talking about energy and sustainable energy, and it's amazing what these guys created there in a very interactive and playful way. And maybe some of you may have heard of NFT. It's not that, but it's not that hyped at the moment, but it's powerful. But if you're considering using NFT, I would recommend to not only do it for some artistic pieces stuff. NFT is so much more powerful, so you can use it as a proof of completion, for example, or as a proof of ownership, or as a proof of access, just like a ticket, or for gamification and digital twins, and also for customer loyalty. It's like giving them a stamp. So there are good ways to use that and connect it with the metaverse. It's very easy to use and powerful. And that's maybe the most mind-blowing part of my presentation, even if it is not looking that good, possibly because it's not animated. But it's about analytics. And in marketing, maybe you know that for sure, it's all about analytics. It's about learning what have I done with what impact. And think of not having only a website and the time that someone spent there, knowing exactly what they did in an experience, how long they looked at a product, how long they played with that, where they spent time, where they looked at what certain point in their experience, and that's amazing. So you can learn so much and so improve the experience and also your products. So we gathered amazing information on that. And the pretty cool thing is, in our case, our platform is hosted in Germany, so it's okay from that angle. And last but not least, use the metaverse along the whole customer journey. People often think that it's only about awareness. It is not wrong. Awareness is, oh, we did something in the metaverse, wow. Think of a solution that really helps you, that helps also for consideration and conversion, talking about spatial commerce, virtual commerce, and retention, after sales, services. You saw some examples. People and companies are already doing that. And if it is engaging and good enough, then we're talking also about advocacy. Customers will be engaged, amazed. They will share, oh, look what they did in augmented reality and virtual reality, and I can just place a product there and learn much about that. So it's also about advocacy. So here is just one slide to sum these 10 rules up for you guys. And yeah, we have about 50,000 spaces, so virtual worlds in our platform at the moment. So we learned a lot. And by following these rules, it will be much, much better experiences. So thank you very much for listening. Have a nice day. Bye.
Hans, thank you so much. Now I even understand so much more about the metaverse.
I hope so.
And I got like thousands of questions coming up, but actually the two most emergent ones would be, but how do the industry understand, I mean, once again, I understand there's the metaverse, but within this metaverse, you have like thousands of worlds, as you just said. How can you pick, as a company, also as a customer, the right world for yourself?
Oh, my answer on that question is clear. Using our platform. But by searching for the right solution, a solution that runs on any device, and where you can update the content, so using a content management, so a metaverse solution should have these abilities. Content management system, accessibility, and last but not least, if I could spell a wish, it should be somehow sustainable. So there are solutions out there that are just scaling virtual machines in the cloud. So and everyone that is visiting that experience will get a gaming PC in the cloud, and that will drive costs and energy consumption. So that is not a good solution for my expectation. Yeah, but the other two rules are necessary, accessibility and content management.
All right, and the last one, out of like 1,000, I just have to pick this one. When it comes to trust, because first and foremost, it's just about to see like, how do we engage people within the metaverse? You pretty much gave us like some good examples for that. Some even think, and I think that's for the next keynote, we were just going to be talking about like the latest players on this whole thing, how they will change everything. But how do you think, is it going to be possible just to create trust in each other. Because when it comes to the avatar, you just saw someone, I don't know if I want to talk to a lady who has like 2 swords, or I don't know if you want to do business with someone who's I don't want to do business with someone who's like masqueraded as Yoshi. But then again, if somebody comes like too serious, I don't know if he's cool enough for me just to interact. What would you recommend, like how to present yourself as a customer as well as a company?
Yeah, on the one hand, a company could, with our system, for example, control which types of clothing are available. Is there an avatar system? Is there none? What type of avatar system? And you should carefully pick what types of clothes are possible to choose. But on the other hand, in the metaverse, it doesn't matter the role, the status, the gender. So you can be whatever you want to be, and that helps a lot. So what we learned is that a CEO is talking to some employee, and they are exchanging thoughts and ideas much more than they would in real life because of that different situation. So that is really helpful. And what we are also doing a lot, I said, in our perspective, the metaverse is just like the website. So what we expect and say typically to our customers is embed these solutions into their websites. With our solution, you can embed it like an iframe. So it's not about, is there enough potential in a metaverse solution? It's about using your already existing channels. And so building trust by your already existing channels. There is trust for the customers, and that is also very helpful.
All right, then thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Hans Elstner.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Dankeschön. So this is really going to be like a little tiny break, and afterwards we will continue with immersive technologies, past, present, and future, which I personally think is going to be the best follow-up to this last keynote. So see you in a bit. Thank you. I don't know if you recall the introduction of the iPad, but I do remember the advertisement that came out back then. It was fantastic. It was genius. All it says in the ad was, the new iPad. What is the new iPad? And coming up with the answer, the iPad is beautiful. It didn't say anything about the purpose, the use. Is it a bigger smartphone, a bigger iPhone? What exactly is it? And nowadays, I think nobody's really asking anymore, what's the use of tablets? We do know about it. We just learn a bit more about the metaverse, and most of the people understand, like, using virtual reality could be a very entertaining way, but most of the time not really long-lasting. And to be honest, the most important thing these days is that you have a business case, that there's really a value in new technologies. And as we just heard in Cupertino, they just developed a new device which is about to be released by next year. And our next speaker will kind of not present this item specifically, but just like all the ways that you can actually use those new technologies and actually creating new business cases and why it's going to be relevant in the future. So please welcome now for the topic, immersive technologies, past, present, and future. Here's Vitek Goyal. Welcome.
Thank you for the introduction. Can everyone hear me okay? It's all good. So, my name is Vitek Goyal. I'm the managing director of Compitech Interactive GmbH. We're a Berlin-based company that creates, like the talk before was a great segue into this whole explanation and talk about the metaverse and immersive technologies. It's quite a new area for a lot of people, and there's a lot of confusion around this area, And I wanted to put this up there just to, get a show of hands of anyone who doesn't know what this is. Does anybody not know what this is? And the ones that do know what it is, do we actually know what it is? Because no one's actually had their hands on it, so to speak, yet, and at least not too many people here in Germany have. But this is something that has actually we've been waiting for a long time, and there was a lot of hype around this. Apple is calling it the Vision Pro, and there's still a lot of mystery behind this device. People aren't really sure what it does. I mean, people kind of understand, but there is still this whole world of unexplained things that people want to know what it could do for them. How is this coming, or the next coming device really going to affect anything? So why the hype? Like, what has everyone really, really been waiting for? I mean, I know for myself personally, I've been in this business for quite a while, and when the first rumors started going around that Apple was going to be launching this VR, AR headset, everyone was really hyped up about it because, until now, it's been a very, let's just say, a fragmented landscape of these new technologies. So everyone wanted to see, what is Apple going to do? And for me, it was something a bit more than that. It's something that I think this is all leading up to this one point, but it's all started a long time ago, and it's something that I call promise. And this promise was kind of made, at least to me and people from my generation, I would say it actually goes back to the 60s, that's not my generation, but really the mid-90s, is where this promise was really first delivered in popular culture and science fiction. And there's one movie in particular, I don't know if anyone remembers this film, it's called The Lawnmower Man. It had a very young Pierce Brosnan in it. And it's actually a very dark story, and I don't want to get into the plot because it's actually very dystopian and not so fun. But this was the real idea of this future, immersive, 3D, futuristic sci-fi world where everyone is connected. And it was cyberspace was the big catchphrase back then. This was the step into cyberspace. This is before, obviously, the internet was still very nascent, and cyberspace was this, what we now call the metaverse, was then cyberspace. And in cyberspace in the future was this place where everyone is connected, we have digital avatars, and it's all going through this neural network, and this is the future. And we were promised like an amazing, virtual, realistic, immersive world. And like I said, those seeds were really planted back in the 90s. And back then I really thought that this would take a huge leap forward. I thought this is the future. And then I got to try for myself. That's kind of like what the VR looked like back in the 90s. And I'll never forget my experience. I was a teenager and I was in London on a vacation with my family, and there was a big mall in Piccadilly Circus called Trocadero. And on the top floor, there was this like an arcade called the Sega Mega World. And in this Sega Mega World, they had one of these very ominous-looking VR headsets. And I remember wearing it, and that's exactly the kind of experience it was. It was this polygonal, flat, untextured world. And I felt super nauseous and super sick because there was very high latency. Oh, still very low latency, high latency. It was just like a mess. And it was just really nausea-inducing, and I wanted to throw up as soon as I got off. But at the same time, it still blew my mind, and I could see, like, wow, this is really cool. This is really something that, kind of sparked something in me. And it really kind of like, and so if you see, this is like the kind of newer headsets, obviously, coming to this point. But, just to give you a bit of how I got here, I founded a company called Pixel Tech in Mumbai, India in 2004. And started out as a small team, which now is still pretty small for Indian standards, but we're about 40 people. And we focused on doing a lot of game development, a lot of 3D art, animation. And this company was founded in 2004, so next year will be our 20-year anniversary, which is really cool. And in that time, the landscape has changed so much. When I first started getting into game development, there was, iPhone wasn't even out yet, right? So it was mobile games was on Symbian operating systems and Nokia and all these different fragmented platforms. So it kind of reminds me of where VR is now, where everything is kind of fragmented and there's all these different things. And then Apple came in, in smartphone game, and obviously changed all that for gaming. But we've seen all these different platforms come and go, and we've kind of had to adapt. And that's kind of been one of the key things in any kind of technology business. So during the time in gaming, I was executive producing games as well, so got into the business side, the marketing, distribution. And in 2014, something very strange happened. There was a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign by this guy called Palmer Luckey in the US, which was to this brand new device called the Oculus Rift. And this was this VR device, and this had been, like a 30-year gap almost since I tried it in London, 20-year gap. And finally, now someone is thinking about VR again. It's coming back. Okay, cool. So the first thing we did was I ordered one of these, they call it the Development Kit 1. And it was the first VR headset I had used in 20 years. The last one was that previous one I showed you, and then this new one came out, which is much smaller and for today's standards, it's big, but for when it came out, it was mind-blowing. And I tried it, and I was like, wow, finally, this promise is coming back, And, but the problem was that it was still facing a lot of issues. There was still a lot of things happening in it. It was seen as a gimmick, and I think even till today, people still think of VR as a gimmick. It's like, okay, it could be used for our brand, it can be used for marketing stuff, but like, you could live without it, But in 2017, something changed when we launched a product called Pixel Spray, which is an interactive VR tool, which was used for training. And when we started using VR for training, we realized that it's no longer a gimmick. This is actually a tool that can be used to make people's lives better. And not even to replace people by automation or anything like that, but to actually improve the life of people. And so we set up Computech Interactive in Germany to kind of bring this idea to German, called them Mittelstand companies, to really promote this idea of using technology as a means of bettering the training experience. And so I'd like to show a quick video, and Harry, if you don't mind queuing up that video, please. So this is just a small video to show the kind of stuff that happens with training in VR. So thanks, Harry, for that. So this was just to show you a case study about how VR can be used in a training environment. So in this case, this was a product made for a company called Seat Tires, which is a very large Indian tire manufacturing company. And they were using this to train employees because there was this attrition rate problem, and there was a lack of skilled training people, and there was a lot of complications that occurred when it came to training. And by using this, they were able to actually increase their efficiency and actually get the return on investment, which is like the most important thing for any business. And to get that proven in a VR kind of situation, it really makes it even better. So, like I said earlier about Nokia phones and mobile gaming, and there were so many different screen sizes and platforms and operating systems. It's kind of similar with the current XR landscape. We call it XR, extended reality. So, on the left is the kind of the newer version of the original Oculus, which now is owned by Meta and Facebook. And then there's the HTC Vive, which is a platform that we use a lot for our training because it's very interactive. But now even this is getting very outdated because you see they've got cameras in the back and controllers. It's a bit bulky. Then we have the Pico. And then on the bottom row, these are more the augmented reality, mixed reality devices. So on the left, we have the Microsoft HoloLens. And then we have the Magic Leap. And we have the new Vive Elite. So these are all bunch of different headsets that do a bunch of different things, and it gets really complicated, especially when you're a business owner trying to make a decision, about which product should I use. If I'm going to spend so much money developing a high-end VR training platform or solution, then I want to make sure it runs on everything. I want to make sure it works with everything, right? But currently, it does, but it's not really that seamless. So everyone, including me, was waiting for Apple to launch the headset because we wanted to see if it's going to be the same case like they did with the iPhone. Are they going to change the landscape? Are they going to bring all these things together into like one easy platform that everyone can use and like and work in? And can Apple show us the way again? And Apple does things in their own way, as we know. So the first step I think they did was they kind of rebranded this whole idea of the VR and metaverse. And so if you see in their keynote, if you look on their website, they're very careful about their wording. They don't talk about VR. They don't talk about the metaverse. They do talk about augmented reality because they do have a platform called ARKit, which they've shipped with all their iPhones. And the new buzzword is spatial computing. So this is kind of a nice buzzword. It sounds cool, it makes sense, and it's still a bit open-ended. And also, it allows Apple to make its own spatial operating system now, called Vision OS. And hopefully, this is the first headset to really blend VR and AR together. To make it simple, VR is when you're in a total virtual world, and AR is when you're in a semi-virtual world, a bit of the real world and the virtual world mixed. And what is really cool about this Apple headset, and I've tried all these various headsets, and they all have some shortcomings. Some will be fully immersive, some will be, if you look at the HoloLens, it looks really cool on paper, but the field of view is just a tiny sliver. It's not really that immersive. With Apple, they've got this knob where you turn the knob and it slowly encompasses you. And so I really like that idea of this blend of this virtual and augmented world happening. And all this is apparently stuff, right? Because I've never tried this yet. This is all what we've heard. So again, this is the promise we hope they keep. Very good eye tracking. Till now, eye tracking has been something that's been a bit of a gray area. How do we use it? What's the benefit of it? Obviously, when it comes to marketing and all these things, it's amazing. But what's really amazing about this product is now Apple has made all the interfaces trackable by only your eye movement. So you can just look at the icons, and it'll select the icons for you. So this is something we're all very excited to try. And of course, no controllers. This was another stumbling block that we faced when we were trying to get clients in the beginning because, a lot of the people weren't really gamers, and they didn't feel comfortable holding these controllers, pressing the wrong button, teleporting into the wrong room by mistake, So now we don't have this problem with this. It's all by your hand. It's all pinch, gesture controlled. The most basic controls that anyone can understand. But the price tag, everyone's like, oh my God, $3,500, who the hell is going to pay so much money? But if you compare it to the other devices, the Microsoft HoloLens is $3,500 as well. And that's the Magic Leap is also $32.99, and then the Vive Elite Pro, which does a lot less than all of these ones, is about $1,500. So in retrospect, I don't think that the price tag, if you look, it's a question of, we look at it from two perspectives. Who is it aimed at, and what's Apple's outlook in this whole situation? So let's keep it simple for who it's aimed at. It's not aimed at consumers. It's aimed at power users. It's aimed at enterprise users and hobbyists. There'll always be those Apple fanboys, such as myself sometimes, that will want to spend money and get the latest and greatest gadget from Apple. But this is something that is going to be really pushed towards enthusiasts and really power users to get the ball rolling. And if you look at it from Apple's point of view, they've actually lowered their estimates of sales, which is very rare for something for Apple to do. They sell millions of iPhones every year. They initially wanted to sell 1 million units, and they brought that down, And when I made this presentation a few days ago, it's even changed since then. There was an article that came out yesterday that I read that they've even reduced the number of units they're manufacturing. So they're going to be manufacturing, I think, less than 400,000 units, which is not much for Apple standards. But even then, they're putting the estimate of like 150,000. So, this is not something that they're expecting to be like a blockbuster sale. But that's kind of the point. They don't want it to succeed. I mean, they want it to succeed, but they don't expect it to succeed, not yet. Right? This is just the first step so that this conversation can happen. Once these devices get out there in the market and people, it's getting into the social vocabulary, into this whole idea, and then the global consciousness. Like Apple does this really well. They can take a product that is, or a technology that is fragmented and complicated and then simplify it and make it easy and make it fun. So hopefully when they do that, then this promise can finally be, let's say, fulfilled. And that'll allow us to then take everything that we've wanted to do for all these years and make it a reality. The metaverse, yeah. And with all the advances now happening with 5G, with AI, one of the most interesting projects we're doing at the moment is combination of VR and ChatGPT and AI. And so all these things coming together with Apple will make everything more seamless and just more acceptable in society. At least that's what I hope the promise that they fulfill. So thank you, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Ritik. And I'm glad not to be the only fanboy for that matter, but I totally understand. And also when he came up with the Lone Man with Pierce Brosnan, that was really a great movie back in the days. And we also had those kind of stations in Berlin, so I recall what it was like. One thing, because previously we've been talking about the metaverse, and then one of the key factors for the metaverse will be that you have something that can be displayed on all devices. As you just mentioned, not only the price is very high for the Vision Pro, but also apparently like the release might be pushed back even further. Well, let's not see if this is really going to be kind of an issue. But I think like the biggest, best comparison that I've heard, like opposed the Vision Pro opposed to all the devices that are on the market right now, they said, well, what it is that the Vision Pro is spatial computing, so pretty much it's like a MacBook Pro, so it's the state-of-the-art of tech right now that you can have on a device, on a mobile device, in comparison to what it used to be before, was more of an Android device, so more on a mobile phone device. So my question with all this long intro, how long do you really think is it going to take until really we're going to have a quality grade that is going to be like really on all the devices to an acceptable price?
So I think what's going to happen is, like in the previous talk, we heard about this kind of cloud computing thing happening now. So I think once it gets to the point in the future, everything is going to be different. We're just going to have flat screens with no computers in them. And they're just going to have a chip, and everything is going to get streamed from the cloud. All the processes will be generated. All the computing is going to happen in the cloud. So when that happens, then you can display it on like any platform. At the moment, even with Apple's headset, it needs a PC to run. It's heavy bandwidth stuff. It's not streaming everything from the cloud as yet. So I think right now, when it's the first step is to start playing around with it, get in the hands of it, and then as it slowly farms out a bit more, the technology will catch up. The hardware will catch up from the server side, from the computing side, and then that will allow easier translation to multiple devices.
So, because you just mentioned cloud, I said this is the last. This is really like the last one because you just mentioned like cloud computing. I mean, I recall as a gadget guy, I remember that I, of course, was among the first that purchased like a Stadia, which was like cloud gaming. Yeah. Until just recently, it got like totally canceled.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it really seems that we are not there yet. So again, like an estimate, because it's not that we want to call it that, but apparently those kind of devices will not be here within the next 2 years.
But it also depends on the perspective. So we have some clients that insist that everything is done locally on a server. They don't want the cloud involved. Because for security reasons or for kind of those,
right.
Intellectual property reasons. They want to make sure that everything is hosted on a local server, so you can have everything on a computer there as well and stream that to a headset. So I think it depends on the hardware catching up. I see this Apple device having at least 5 or 6 iterations before it even gets close to that point, you know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that's going to go, to be honest. I just hope that it comes soon.
So what's the first application? Whenever you're going to get like an Apple Vision Pro, what's the first application you're going to open on it?
That's a good question. Probably one of our own ones, just to check and see if Apple's really up to what they said, that everything is going to be seamlessly compatible. But I'll probably end up playing some games.
All right. Let's stick the two. So thank you, Vitek, at this point.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're just going to have a little break, and then afterwards see you again here on stage. Enjoy your lunch. As I can see, judging the audience, you all came here for fashion. But sorry, this is not the Berlin Fashion Week happening right now, and well, it's kind of about fashion, but then again, it's not. It's going to be about sustainability. With a speaker that we already had here yesterday on stage, together with Monika Griefan, where we've been talking about the concept of the cradle to cradle. So pretty much, as we know, we have a huge issue with all the fashion items that are not used anymore. So what are we going to do with them? Recycle them in terms of becoming like a new piece, or maybe finding a solution that is not only sustainable, but also very practical, and also is there just to create new things, actually dealing with raw material. So it might sound fashion, but it's really more industry. So please welcome, just to talk about from rags to riches, again, here to the stage, Vika Karnau. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Patrice, and thanks again for having me here. I know that you're here right after a very delicious meal, so you need something to feel comfortable a bit, but maybe also something to wake you up. Don't worry, we're not going to dance, but I will actually let you, before I talk, I will let someone else talk, which is a video that I would like us to present, because there is an organization which you might have heard about. It's called the World Economic Forum. They have chosen to tell our story in a very beautiful way, and so I would like to share the story with you now, first of all. Yeah, what is your big solution for this big planet? Maybe something that I will be talking about today will serve you a bit as an inspiration, something you might want to think about more, something you might want to challenge also, and mostly something you would like to discuss further. This is why I hope that I will be able to leave some time during my talk to also get some feedback from you. Because Otherwise, this won't work. But let's first start with our journey. You already sort of saw what we're doing. Don't worry, if you got a bit more confused, that's fine. We can talk about it. But how did we get there? The talk today is from rags to riches. But actually, my co-founder and I started with the riches. We were working for the world's biggest brands. As designers, as producers, I produced fashion shows around the world, and I got to go, you name the place, I was probably there. And my co-founder was on the other side, going to the factories where all those amazing clothes are being produced. And the reason why we joined forces was because we understood that living in a modern world as we are, using technology, using innovation, using metaverse, and all these big buzzwords, there's actually one industry which is extremely, extremely left behind and traditional. And that's that industry that even if most of you will say, I don't know anything about it, we're all very much part of it. I assume that nobody here had this question when you woke up this morning, whether or not you're going to put something on you when you left the house. So this is where it starts, right? We all need clothes. We're all part of it in one way or another. And this is also what makes us, all of us, both part of the problem, but actually potentially part of the solution. And this is what we understood when we came together. And we said, OK, what can we do? We really know this industry in and out. We know it from the production side. We know how it looks out there when it's on these beautiful catwalks. And we also know what happens to it when it's not needed anymore, right? We'll know how it is with all those piles and piles of clothes that are being left behind. And I mentioned it. I think many of you weren't at the talk here, so I will say it again. Most of us here probably, if I will ask you, you won't say, I don't throw away my clothes. There are all these beautiful, these nice containers. Sometimes I go there or I find another way to bring it to a charity. And I feel so bad, so good about myself because now I help the needy. And don't worry, you're not the only ones. Big brands think the same thing. When we first started talking to brands to find out how they actually handle their waste, they said, we have zero problem. We give it to charities. But what happens is that, and especially in the COVID area and after that, there were so many clothes that have been submitted because people started cleaning and there was no space to actually leave that behind, that it led to the charities getting to the maximum, and they were not able to use it any longer. So charities have, in many cases, become just another stop on the way to landfill, incineration, or shipping this waste to other countries like Africa, killing the local cultural market. That's the situation we live in today. And also to give you some real numbers, I don't know if you know, Europeans in the EU alone throw away 12 kilograms of clothes every year. Now, you say 12 kilograms, it's not so much, but if you and you and you and you and all of us in Europe do that, that's actually quite a lot. Now, I don't know if you know how much of all of that is needed anymore is recycled or gets another life. We're talking about 15 to maybe 20%. And that includes downcycling. That means that something that has traveled a very long time, thousands of kilometers in order to be on your body, it can then maybe become something that you will not even see anymore on a very, very low value. And this is what we understood when we got together and said, OK, there must be something else. There must be some other way to do this. I mean, clothes, textiles, there are so many resources which go into it. We have, on the one hand, we have the cotton fields. We have this amazing plant which has given us so many gifts. And then on the other hand, we have the wonders, I will say it, of the plastic industry, which has also solved a lot of problems. By the way, we at Refresh, we never point fingers at one industry. We think it's a wrong approach. It has solved a lot of problems and even maybe partly for our environment. The problem is, what do we do with it now? What do we do with the polyesters? And what do we do with all those clothes that cannot become the same type of clothing again? And this is what we realized. Basically, I always say, do the test in your closets and see what do you wear. what will happen is that you will find that your clothes are mostly made from mixed fibers. And this is where the problems begin. You cannot recycle, or it's very hard to recycle or create the same type of product if it comes from two very different sources, right? When we look at the cotton and polyester as the big groups. And when we realized that, and we don't come from chemistry, but right away we understood, okay, we need to get those experts. Let's create some kind of a roundtable of people that they might know nothing about clothing and they don't know anything about the fashion industry, but they know what materials are. They know how you can take A and create it to B. And we embarked on a whole academic journey. And by the way, the reason why I'm telling you this is not just because of our own example, but because I believe that true disruptive innovation needs people that usually don't sit at the same table. Okay? And again, as someone who has worked in the fashion industry for a long time, I know that these people never usually came together. Everybody was trying to keep their own secret to them. And we said, we believe in open innovation. Let's get together. Let's tell them what we want to do. Let's hear from them. Let's share. Let's be open about it. And what actually helped us a bit was COVID. We couldn't travel, but we could ask people, we could interview people, we could research. And what we understood was what Refresh Global is today. We understood that something that is considered waste still has a lot of resources in it. It still has a lot of parameters in it that can be extracted if we apply different concepts. We said, how is it done in different industries? Everybody likes beer or wine here? People, maybe it's something that you already had this morning. I drink wine, I don't drink beer, but I have an understanding how it's being done. And this concept is very simple. We all know that that thing that we drink has come from something that looks completely different. So somebody had to think about how do we take it, how do we ferment it, and then do something completely different from it. And that's very much the idea of Refresh. We know that we take something that has value, and our goal is to extract this value from it and make something different from it. So now that I've mentioned it so many times, let's talk about what do we actually do. We said the following. So maybe the fashion industry is not able to completely reuse and reapply all those wasted textiles. Why? Because the quality is so low, because of the problem what I explained with the mixed recycling. Fine, but there are other industries that are using textiles. Again, it's not just the clothes. What are we sitting on? When you came here by car or by or bus, this is all made with textiles inside. I don't know if anybody of you knows how many textile-based products are in the car. Over 40. The furniture that we use, many other, the home style, and so many other applications, almost no industry can live without textiles. So how about we take that and we make something like that from it? But we didn't stop there. This is when we thought about the polyester, basically. Then we said, okay, what about cotton? Cotton is a plant. It's a natural material. We can do so many things with it. So, okay, so the cotton T-shirt cannot become a cotton T-shirt again. But remember I spoke about beer and wine? How about we ferment it into something? And, well, the result is that we were able to create the world's first ethanol from cotton. That means that actually we went further, and we were able, with that ethanol, we were able to create the first ever fragrance made from textile waste, more precisely from hospital sheets. So I already took you on the journey with the first product. So we can take wasted textiles. They mostly come from synthetic sources like polyester. We basically, in that case, we don't change their composition. A polyester is a polyester. As a green business, we're also very aware of it. Are we going to invest more energy? And maybe, obviously, you don't want to invest or use any harmful substances. So we're thinking about the main criteria for that is to decontaminate it so that we can actually reuse it again. And that's what we did. So our process, and I will in a moment give you the whole framework, because this is very important. We're basically not stopping only at the idea of the product. We will in a moment talk about what we actually can do with it, and maybe even you. And the process is about taking the textiles as is, and then create free products from them. So we already spoke about the ones that come from polyester, that can go back into the textile industry. We spoke about the ethanol, and then there's one more product, and this is our big hero product, and it's called nanocellulose. No worries if you have not yet heard about it, but if you have, then anyway, I assume that when you hear nano, all of us know that there's been a hype around this, and I think this is justified more than a lot of other hypes that we had in innovation. Because of course, nano means that there is a product which you don't need so much of, but it has very strong features. And in our case, nanocellulose is exactly that type of product which can replace a lot of synthetic materials. And of course, it's completely biodegradable. What can be done with our nanocellulose? It can be used in packaging applications, it can be used in shoe soles, it can be used in lamination, coating, and a lot more. There are really a lot of different applications which can be done with it, and I hope it's not getting boring at this point. We're the first ones in the world where we're able to create nanocellulose from textile waste. Because usually today it's being created from wood, because it has similar features. But if you lost me right now because I gave all these detailed explanations, that's fine, okay? And we will see in a moment some of them so you can actually feel them. I want to talk to you now about the big concept. The big concept are not just the products, okay? We do these free products, and someone else does other products. And when you walk across the street, you'll go into the mall, and they're also selling products. The big concept is what we call the microfactory. And if there's something that I would like you to take with you today, it's that. The microfactory is a completely different idea of what I think all of you, no matter how old you are, have experienced in your lifetime. Why? Because for the past 50 years or so, the manufacturing of the products that we wear here or use here has been done far away from us, right? This is no secret. And we believe that the world cannot sustain anymore if we continue doing it over there, if we continue having people work at ridiculous wages, risking their lives, by the way, like in the fashion industry, in order for us to feel comfortable with what we want. We don't understand how this can go together. We're here talking about one of the world's maybe most important trade shows, which is going to happen soon. And I really, really hope that everybody that is not only going to attend but exhibit there will understand that we need to profoundly change the way how we manufacture. And so our offer, our contribution, because like I said, we don't just point fingers, we want to actually come with a suggestion, is the ability to create or to bring back the manufacturing where it actually is happening. But not only the idea, basically the way it works is that we take the waste that we produce, we don't send it overseas, we bring it into a local facility where the process is taking place inside as an end-to-end solution, and then the outcome, in our case, the free products that you just heard about, can also be reapplied in the local industries. That's what we call a real concept for circular city. And what we're doing already in order to advance that is, first of all, we have created a network. Well, maybe let's start with the fact that we did a pilot with a city, because we see ourselves very much as part of the circular city. It was a city in Israel where we started our journey. We went to the city and we said, we want to try this out. Let's see how it can work. And they didn't know what they were in for. They didn't realize that we would not only come for a little project, but actually for something much longer. But what we did was we collected 10 tons of textile waste. That means that more or less this area would be completely filled with the textiles we collected. We trained women that were working in local charities how to actually treat textiles, how to understand the differences. And we had 200 women afterwards that came to be part of this pilot. and we saved 98% of the textiles collected. And we gave the city a concept of how they can actually use and reuse their waste locally. The next step for us, and the reason why we're here now in Europe, is because in a year and a half, I can't believe I'm already saying year and a half, I've been saying 2.5 years or whatever. Now it's really a year and a half, July 1st, 25. A regulation is coming out in the EU, which has already been decided in 2018. Do you know what this regulation is going to say, the EPR? It will mean that there will be separate textile collection will be mandatory. Do you know what this means? That this means that the piles of clothes that we're talking about now will become much bigger because they will be all collected in one. And so that means also that it's, in German we say 5 vor 12, it's really high time to begin applying those circular solutions. So I really, really hope that you will join us there. And what I will do now, before we'll have maybe just a few minutes for questions, I would like to invite someone. Patrice, you look bored. Maybe you can come on stage. And I would like you to on you.
I think I just have like the Ben Affleck type of look. That's what it is.
So I did say that most of it we don't bring only to the textile industry, but we do some of it. So this is the result. I told you about the 98% that we were able to rescue from that pilot. And this is what we did. This is our first fashion product. And
It's my size.
I would like you to model on this and try it on.
So I lied when I said it's not about fashion. Apparently it is about fashion.
Yes, it's also about fashion.
Do we have some music like Right Said Fred, I'm Too Sexy? It is, it's a bit short.
But we're not done yet.
Oh,
I'm going to spray on you now. Are you ready for
Please,
that?
not in the eyes. All right.
I just sprayed on you the first perfume that was created from textile waste.
Oh, because...
Are you okay?
No. No, I mean, I think it's great. I think like everybody will have the opportunity just to smell it. Because in my mind, when you said, okay, we made ethanol, it's like really like the alcohol which is necessary to create it. It's not, I can convincingly, really, I honestly say it doesn't smell like any old socks, if you might think that it came from anywhere from there. It's actually very lovely. What is that scent?
It's goji berries and pomegranate.
I can feel it right now.
You see? Mm-hmm. So this is us, and you're more than welcome. Of course, we have more other stuff that we have produced from, and we can even do this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of other things, and you're welcome to take a look afterwards. But yeah, this is us.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's time for questions or...
Just one final question, because when it comes like to cycling, reusing from cradle to cradle, I mean, in the beginning you've been using like something that it was something absolutely different, and then you made it to something like this. When it comes afterwards to recycle this, is the process going to be just as complicated as before, or is it actually going to be even easier because you already have like the raw material?
Thank you for the question. We didn't discuss this before,
all right.
But this is really a very important question. As I said before, we are not just about creating cool products, right? We want to make this process circular. So indeed, what we do as a result of our process of the microfactory, we create monomaterials. They come out as monomaterials. So this, you know, was a mixed fibers before, and now it's only that, and it's going to evaporate. And this is only polyester because we're able to separate it and the process of our microfactory. And then it makes it much easier to recycle it because we only have one material to recycle.
And it really feels really good. It's like really like some sturdy.
Yeah.
Respect for that.
Yeah. This is jeans. This is actually from jeans from all those old jeans we don't wear anymore.
From rags to riches, a big round of applause, please. Thank you. Well, we're almost through, and for our next speaker, I must say I was a bit excited because I just like talked to him for a few minutes, and for those of you who didn't really understood at this point that I'm a gamer, yes, I admit I am one, and in particular the next speaker, not only that he was a founder of one of the most relevant, really one of the most relevant video games ever coming out of Germany, he also represents to me really also like the kind of issue that we have when it comes to tech, because as I know, he definitely didn't really get like the credit that he deserves for what he accomplished in the past, and therefore I'm very excited just to see what's up next. The company that I'm talking about is Crytek, which has actually been based back then in Frankfurt. Himself, he comes like from Coburg. And the game that I was talking about is like Crisis. And also like he also founded like this whole series called like Far Cry. For those of you who don't have any relationship towards video games, I get it, but trust me when I'm telling you, there's a certain pride knowing that there is really some great ideas coming from this country, and of course it always needs a different angle just to actually support them. But that's in the past. Now we will be talking about what's up in the future, and he will talk to us to a humanized foundation for Web 3.0 in Power Crisis, the power of reality for people, planet, and sustainable profits. Please welcome the founder of the Tomorrow Foundation, Shervat Yerli.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here to talk about the foundation for Web3 in times of polycrisis. My name is Shervat Yerli. I'm the founder and the former CEO of Crytek. For my whole life, pretty much, I've been building video games since I was 12 years old. And that passion led to, as Patrice said, to Germany's largest independent game studio. And with pride, I can say we reached over 100 million gamers and won hundreds of awards globally and built some of the most critically acclaimed games. We also invented the modern blueprint of 3D technology that's pervasively available and inspired all kinds of other engines, including Unity, Unreal, or any other 3D you see in any 3D application whatsoever. But we are not here to talk about video games, as much as I would love to. We also are here to talk about the future of the internet and also talk about how sustainable profit business models could be created and how a mission can be truly purposeful, inclusive, and scalable at the same time, have a deep sense for planet and people. This vision is what we call the Internet of Life. Internet of Life is kind of like our third vision or our vision on the third internet. Now, there is this term Web3, right? And everybody has heard about the metaverse. Internet of Life is not a competition to metaverse, neither is really a Web3 initiative. It's just our view towards the future of the internet, something that is more about real, tangible human feelings. It's about humanizing the internet as much as it is about technology. It's really about bringing the human factor back to the internet and humanizing technology to the degree that we focus on the respect to the individual people. Here's a short video that will hopefully get you the first glimpse of an idea of the Internet of Life.
Being together is best in reality. When we can meet face to face. When we can work in the same room. The future of communication will combine new technology with this power of reality. We will come together in familiar ways. We will connect as people for all kinds of reasons. It will be a safe place for everyone to join in. No matter where you come from, no matter where you are. An internet built on reality. We call it Internet of Life.
So, to understand Internet of Life, we should understand what is happening today and also what happened in the last 20 years. With the first internet, we had the inception of where information that was analog became digital. And as Bill Gates said famously, it's information at your fingertips. The second internet was about how you can find people, social media, and follow them, and post your own content to the world, and share your thoughts and your memories with everybody. Now the big question is, what is the third internet, right? And so there are different concepts around Web3 and blockchain. But before I go into this, I want to explain also what is the today's tech cycle, yeah? Especially in the today's world of polycrisis. The today's tech cycle is very much our old business model. It's about selling you either free services, and you're the product, and your data becomes the commercial part. You're being sold effectively to advertisers or other businesses. So you become the product, and you get a free service. So this means that they're building profits at the cost of you. They're building profits that are good for the business, but bad for you. But most people don't understand that. How bad is it for you really? Because it only looks like it's only about you, and people say like, but I have nothing to hide, right? But trust me, your data is more valuable than you think. But also it's about companies selling products. Every single year, another device, another device. Now it's another VR headset version 5, version 6, version 7, and another brand coming and saying, hey, you need this. And it's about this convincing of that we need to buy more, then we need to find the service that comes with that. And that creates a kind of tech gap between people. Yeah, it makes an exclusive community of people that only have the device. And besides that, these devices are wasting lots of resources. The community becomes the market for developers, and if the community is small, then the market doesn't kick in, right? It's a network effect that's slowing down. The revolution is hindered by market companies' desire to make more profits at the cost of planet. And this is a model that we want to break through, because we don't think it's sustainable. We think people are waking up. The new generation is more conscious about the crises in climate change, the crises of waste that's coming around us, right? And also people are more aware about their data rights and their privacy more than ever before. So we are addressing this in a different way, right? We are looking at a foundational technology that is called Reality OS. Reality OS, unlike other metaverse strategies, do not require VR headsets. Does not require you to buy something for $500, or as recently another very beloved company announced for $3,500, right? These devices are slowing down the adoption of the future of the metaverse. Now, metaverse, what is metaverse? Metaverse is already existing. I have been adding to the metaverse since 20 years as part of video games. So did many other game developers. Metaverse is nothing new, but it's repackaged new to sell you more devices, to bring you to their walled gardens, and to be part of those new ecosystems that companies are building, again, at the cost of people and planet. The way we're looking at this is we don't need these VR headsets. We actually run on existing infrastructure, the infrastructure that you already have in your pockets or on your laps, with laptops, or on the tablets, right? 4 billion devices today are equipped with enough technology, sufficient power in computing to run the future of the internet already today. And that is available since 5 years in everybody's hand. So we embarked on a mission to make sure that every 5-year-old device can be ready for the future already today. So we built the Reality OS as a foundational tech to make sure that Internet of Life is only one click away, as Bill Gates famously said, information at your fingertips. So this is about a 3D internet available at your fingertips. One click away, and you are in the future. For 4 billion people ready now. Not in 10 years, not in 5 years. Doesn't require you to buy for $500 or thousands of dollars new devices. We are also focusing on the real human factor. We are not about avatars. I think avatars are great for the metaverse, but not for the Internet of Life. Avatars, and what's the difference, by the way, right? Avatars are about escapism. Avatars are around entertainment. It's the future of the entertainment, the future of the game industry, and the future how you may experience movies together. You might jump from one game world to another. That's the metaverse. But the metaverse is not the future of the internet. You cannot hinge or hang the future of the internet on the metaverse paradigm. The future of the internet has to run on the internet and has to focus on a very beneficial fact for being a human. So it has to embrace reality, it has to embrace the human factor. So that being said, we focus on the real person himself, so to give you this sense of face-to-face experience for all kinds of reasons. It's highly scalable, it's inclusive, and it's real, and it's inspired by reality. The first use case we are launching in the next couple of months, but it's already live, is called Room. Room3.com is the world's first manifestation of an Internet of Life experience that's highly scalable, inclusive, and again, runs on all devices. So what we do with Internet of Life and Reality OS is about being sustainable. Sustainable as in we are only allowed to make profits once we empower people and contribute to the planet. That's a general rule at the Tomorrow Foundation for whatever we do. How do we empower people? By giving them a superpower, literally. The superpower is not just about communication or finding information, it's about teleportation. It's about getting together face-to-face, at planet scale, with people, to unlock the human potential, to get together, to build all kinds of relationships with anybody across the world, with one click away. That means, as you saw in the video before, you can sit next to each other as if it's in reality without the travel requirements. So this isn't video conferencing, but this isn't either metaverse. This is the Internet of Life. Internet of Life is empowering the circle of profit, planet, and people. There's no gatekeeping involved here. It runs on any platform, any device, any browser, and it's, by the way, because of the decades of experience from building game technology and having built the world's first 3D engine, we have built with Reality OS the world's first 3D engine for the internet that empowers true human communication. The only difference is that the internet today, which is a 2D internet that will become soon a 3D internet, is a $10 trillion opportunity, a little bit bigger than the $200 billion games market. We are also focusing on the human need, right? We want to be sure we build technology that is really needed. With Room, I mentioned that it's already live in beta, will be commercially launched soon. Room is the kind of business that empowers collaboration, cooperation, and co-creation, and solves the pain point of today's video conferencing and remote working world that we live in. The Internet of Life is rooted into something that is deeply ingrained in our human nature. It's about getting together, right? Getting together, in this case, to get through the crisis. Getting together is the human nature for evolving us. If we want to deteriorate, all you have to do is lock yourself up somewhere. Otherwise, if you want to get improved, keep exchanging. Meet people, transact knowledge to each other, and help each other, and share each other. And the more we do this, the more we get together for that reasons, the more we improve, right? It's very deep in our human nature. So we have to embrace that. We have to embrace getting together for all kinds of purposes and allowing this now, as a reminder, over the internet. Life is about, at a minimum, two people coming together and sharing some value. If I can do this now with somebody from in the end of the world, the other side of the world, not the end of the world, then we give people superpower. Because you can do this with 8 billion people, one click away now. That is not possible with the metaverse today. That's also not possible with video conferencing. Sharing a space is only possible if there is a space to be shared, and I only can get together with somebody if I can see his face. Face or body in real life is the minimum amount of communication. Before one word is said, presence is the key of communication. The body language and the facial expression before you say a word is 80% of the communication. So avatars don't cut it. So for us, we are looking at getting together as a sole inspiration source of building all kinds of solutions for all kinds of business developers, application developers. So we're looking at what are the different reasons why people get together. We talked about collaboration, working, or co-creation. That's a side of a platform that Room does satisfy that need. But there will be also other applications, as we have, for example, started with in Dubai and UAE, several government initiatives where if you forget or if you lose your Emirates ID, your personal identification card, you can go to a government service center virtually in the browser and walk to a kiosk or ask for an agent. Then the agent pops in and says, how can I help you? And you say, I lost my Emirates ID. And then you have a dialogue about it. She verifies you, and you do your payment as if it's a checkout on an e-commerce, and then you get to pick up at some point your Emirates ID. You saved yourself about 30 minutes of time. You saved yourself cost of the gasoline or the electricity you use for your car, and you also saved yourself some carbon emission in case you drove either way, electric or gas. So we are empowering the future of the internet based on reality today. We're not building a new reality. We're not focusing on some kind of virtual reality that people can escape on. That's another business, not from us. I mean, other people working on this. We are focusing on how we can get together for all kinds of reasons, for education, for healthcare, for shopping. 99% of your daily life that you do, you could do now supercharged with everybody in the internet of life. So the Tomorrow Foundation is very much committed to build a sustainable business model. This is what we call the for-profit foundation that will hopefully inspire other startups to do the right thing. Don't focus just on building businesses at the cost of people and planet. That's the easy way out. Yeah, I do think that the new generation, especially inspired by crises, should rethink their models. And we're committed to do this as an example when it's concerned about some major future disruptions. Nothing less but the future of the internet. We are focusing always on accessibility. Accessibility means no barriers of cost, no barriers of hardware, yeah, and it should empower everybody. There's a high chance that even in poor countries, people have some form of phone that can browse the internet, and when they have this, they can still click in the internet and be part of the future of the internet. For us, that's inclusion, that's accessibility, there's also scalability. So we are not alone in this journey, of course. We are looking for every other developer in the world to join us and work with us to shape the future of the internet. The Internet of Life is a vast opportunity, and as life is so vast and full of inspiration, there will be millions of applications that will empower each other's reality. The goal of Tomorrow Foundation ultimately is to make technology human and not to ask everybody human to become more technical. We don't want to adapt to technology. We want technology to be more like human, more like us. We want technology to embrace us. Ultimately, it's about the unlocking of the human potential across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherrod.
Thank you.
Just a final question, because it was very impressive. Also, like in comparison to all the other keynotes that we had at this point. One thing that I would like to ask you, because previously we just talked about the fact that you are very highly interested in what your kids are playing. For someone who actually developed games itself, maybe from the human side, could you describe what it is that you like to observe with your own kids when they interact with new technologies that maybe we as grown-ups have kind of lost, or where do you see like the importance?
Yes, actually it's a very good point, because lots of parents ask me the question. So two things. One is, I think it's critical that parents look at what the kids are playing, right? Because not every game is great, right, obviously. I think critical is, first of all, if you have the right game, and they have done enough physical exercise, the rest they can play as much as they want. That's how my rules are. Because games are training lots of mental capacities, whether it's problem solving, spatial thinking, all kinds of reflexes, right? And so there are some great games like Minecraft, right, that teaches kids creativity at a young age. I've seen creations happening at the age of 3 of my kids, where they would create whole worlds already, and it makes you, of course, very proud, right? But in a natural course of physical world, they would never be able to create worlds, right? And so games are having this power to teach kids. So it's really about making sure that you play the right games, and games that are teaching the right values. Creation is one of the most important values we can teach everybody, because the one thing why we exist, I think, is about creation, right? Where we need to help creating a better world, or spaces, or technologies, or invention. It's about creation ultimately. And the second value is about understanding how to collaborate with people, right? So a collaborative experience where they play with friends and co-create or collaborate truly. Sometimes even compete, that's fine too, right? That's all very much to be, supported from the parent side. But there are games that teach superficiality, which are, as the French say, detest, right? I hate that part, because it changes the minds of kids in a early age to think having the next skin or having the bragging rights after a kill is a cool thing to do, right? And that's not the right kind of value that I would like to see in my kids.
All right, so thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.
All the success for the Tomorrow Foundation.
Thank you so
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherrod Yarley.
Thank you.
And you know what? We're just gonna finish right away with the last keynote, and therefore we're actually gonna finish with someone who actually opened this hall here. And we're just gonna talk about embrace the change, as we just talked about it. It's about tech, innovation, and sustainability. So finally, I would request here with a round of applause to the stage, the Managing Director of IFA, Oliver Merlin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, brave and resilient souls that are still with us at this time. In English, we call this presentation slot the graveyard shift. I don't know if that translates into German. I promise again, as I did when I opened this event yesterday, to not take up too much of your time, but I don't know if it's a promise I'll be able to keep, as per usual. But I would just like to say a few thank yous and goodbyes, and go touch again on a couple of points. So if you'll bear with me. I'm the only thing standing between you and your trains and planes on the way home. So yesterday, I think you remember I opened with 4 I's. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the international spirit again. So I myself, my mother is Lebanese, my father is Italian, I live in Spain. The company I work for is based in London, and yet here I am running an organization based in Berlin of 40 people, 20 of whom are in Berlin and 20 of whom are remote. So we have that kind of international flavor, and internationalism, if you like, runs throughout the way we run our team and how we approach our customers and indeed our whole industry. And if we think about that for a second, our customers are all either global or multinational organizations, come, as I said yesterday, from over 44 different countries, or they're tech companies. And global multinationals and international companies and tech companies have no real perception or understanding of national borders. Technology increasingly is making the world smaller and doing away with all those borders. And as consumer electronics moves more and more towards content and software and how consumers are consuming that content, those, again, differences will be less and less. And talking about consumers, they don't really care where you come from. They have their own decision-making parameters about how they buy and consume your hardware, your content, your software. And increasingly, as many talks touched upon yesterday and I touched upon, a lot of those decisions are based around sustainability and your story about sustainability and whether it's credible or not. A little bit on the international side also talks to innovation. On the innovation side of things, we have the Startup and Innovation Zone, IFA Next, okay? And that is a part of our IFA, which is a really, really huge international melting pot. And as I said yesterday, that is an area in which our competition is very, very strong. Whether we like it or not, and whether we care to admit it, we are in international competition with people like CES and others, and they have many, many, many nationalities represented in their innovation and startup zone. We don't have enough, and we're focusing on that, and we are making great, great inroads into that. And you'll see startups this year when you come to IFA Next from Korea, from Japan, from all around the world. But at the moment, more European startups go to CES in Las Vegas than come to Berlin. We know there's appetite for the right platform to be in Berlin, to be in Europe. We want IFA to be an amazing European success story and to be a Berlin and German success story on the international stage. Okay. A little bit about the other slide that I touched upon yesterday. The most important one, and again, I'll probably only talk about the first point, is the trade show aspect. So I'm pleased to announce that IFA 2023 is completely sold out. It's now at 130,000 square meters, and every square centimeter of the Messe Berlin will be used. So that's a great achievement that the team has done, considering that most of the team has been in place for about 6 months this year. So the IFA in 2023 will be bigger and better than ever. Maybe not than ever, but it will be certainly a very, very busy show and something we can all be proud of, which is fantastic. And I had the team put together a little list for me earlier of some of the clients you can expect to see there. I know some of you have been asking me for this. So Miele, Bosch Siemens, LG, Samsung, Electrolux, Panasonic, Sharp, Haier, Hisense, Beko Grundig, Vestel, Honor, TCL, Jura, Fitbit, Yamaha, all be there. We have about 1,000 customers, and I think you wouldn't forgive me if I read out 1,000 different names of the customers, but that's just a selection of a few of them. So, right. Another word about international. So, whether we like it or not, as I said earlier, our competition is complete international. And the more we recognize that and the more that we understand that that's the world that we live in, the better we will succeed. Innovation. Does anybody remember the day when people rode around on horses? Hopefully not in this room. And innovation comes in many forms, right? Some of them are societal, some of them are game-changing, some of them are change the world. Eventually horses moved to horse and cart, and eventually were completely made, not totally obsolete. Obviously horses are still used around the world for many things, but the wheel came along. Does everybody know this picture? I'm sure lots of people do. I might ask you a few questions just to make sure you're still awake. Yeah? Do people know what's going on here, or what year this roughly was? Yeah. And what was this famous gentleman doing? Yes, and also announcing and talking about the radio, which at the time was a fantastic invention and innovation. He said, this is obviously a translation, he clearly spoke in German, but there's a few interesting words on this slide that I'd like to pick out. I'll give you a second to read it. But for me, there's some very interesting words up there that I think we all must be aware of and be recognized that are important. So tinkering, yeah, and the pondering researcher, and the technical inventor. These are the crazy people that come up with innovations and inventions that actually end up changing the world. Half of them will be ridiculous and half of them won't work, but in the 1 out of the 100 will be the new wheel, or the new internet, or the new radio. And I think it's very important that we kind of recognize and pay kind of respect and homage to those people, as Einstein did. I'll come back to this funny slide. So again, maybe a few questions. Who knows the story about the VHS versus Betamax? Yeah. Anybody kind of care what to run through that very briefly? Why didn't Betamax win? It was clearly the superior technology. Yeah. Klaus, are you? No? Correct. It was all about the execution, right? So Betamax was a superior technology, but a certain corporation pushed VHS and Betamax went by the wayside, so a lot of it's about execution. I guess there's some people in the room that still use CDs. I've still got a huge CD collection, okay? And that was the pinnacle of listening. But again, is that important now? To a lot of people now, it's to be able to discover the latest music and listen to it immediately. So the immediacy of consumption is much more important than the quality and making sure you're listening to hi-fi level music. Thank you to the previous speaker for having a little video of the ping pong game. Has there ever been a better game invented than this one? And the one right? Maybe not. Maybe yes. And car telephones. Who remembers those? That was the pinnacle of technology not so long ago. No one could imagine that a car would get more mobile phone than it being in a car. Some lessons to be learned. I'm wondering if you know what date and when this was and what this chap is doing. Who knows who this is, first of all? Willy Brandt. Very good. Thought there might be some people in the room who know. What's he doing? Very good. Year? Not quite. How do you know that? Yeah. Certain people had beaten him to it, but it was still a strong physical moment and symbolic moment, turning on color TV in 1967, I believe. Fast forward 30 years. Kind of looks kitsch and retro now, but at this time, this was futuristic. This is like going to space, right? Nintendo N64, and I'm someone who had a Spectrum 64 and coded in BASIC. And now you can get your own wind turbine and help save the world and put it in your back garden, like I said yesterday. And hopefully, I can't wait for this day. I'll be the first person putting my hand up to get a chip inserted under my skin and just say, phone home. Don't know if you will be. Let's see. Next slide, inspiration. So something that's got nothing to do with technology, but it is linked to IFA. Any Union Berlin fans in the room? Yeah? Who's that? All right, awesome. Life, not you. Our new managing director, I've got to out him, everybody. He's a Bayern Munich fan. Union Berlin were in the second division just 4 or 5 years ago, and they made it up to the Bundesliga. The next year, we'll be playing Champions League, potentially against Real Madrid, Barcelona, not Chelsea, unfortunately, my team, Manchester City, whoever you want. That's a story of true inspiration, right, and see what can happen. Union Berlin will be on site on the Saturday in IFA. Shelley's looking at me like that. They'll be on site. Will it be on the Saturday? We don't, maybe. They'll be on site. Please make sure you come and see them. The whole team is coming. Imagination. I'm going to show my age a bit now. You probably already guessed it. People know which film this is from, yeah? I was 10 when this film came out in 1982, so there you go, that's my age. And I wanted a bicycle, and I wanted to fly to the moon on my bicycle. And I thought that by now that would be possible, and it's kind of quite disappointing to me that that's not possible. And then I wanted a flying car. And again, we've seen this earlier today, so that's great. And guess what? That kind of is possible. So this is the air car from Slovakia, was demoed in 2021. and could possibly be mass market by next year. Aircar, look it up. And then now my children want personalized robots. My child. What's going to happen? Is that going to be the future? We've heard a lot about AI, and for sure you're going to hear a lot about AI at IFA. We have got literally so many topics about this, and everybody's grandmother is now an expert on AI, right? So we're going to cover the pros and the cons and talk about it in a balanced way. But IFA is going to have, talk and have an opinion on AI, both pros and cons. And then metaverse, we've talked about this a lot. It's somehow almost been a little bit subsumed by the conversations about AI, right? But it's still hugely important. Children nowadays, my child is 11, spends half his life in a different world, right? Yeah, you can't just dismiss that. Yesterday, we heard from Reaps, an absolutely fantastic presentation. So I hope you all saw and enjoyed and really kind of were wowed by what's possible with the use of the voice and the use of technology these days. At IFA, you're going to see this guy, Quabblecop. He's going to talk about AI and the future kind of entrepreneurship in the AI and metaverse world. This guy's got 15 million YouTube followers. He's going to talk on our leadership stage and also in IFA Next. Make sure you check him out. Right. Anybody fathom an idea of why I've put just a random picture of space up on the... No? Are people familiar with Carl Sagan and his book, The Pale Blue Dot? Yeah. There's a book of which he's kind of like muses about the world and our kind of space in that massive universe. Yeah. It's obviously a long book. That's a very long, relatively long quote. I'm just going to pick out a section of it. There's the pale blue dot. It's actually not blue. It's kind of like yellowy gray. But look again at that dot. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've heard of, every human being who ever was lived out their lives. To me, that underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with each other and to preserve and cherish that pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. We've heard a lot of discussions in the last couple of days, and we will continue to hear at IFA, and you will continue, and this will only accelerate, about sustainability. The amount of waste that this industry produces is unsustainable, and we had a lot of discussions yesterday about how we reduce, reuse, recycle, and that's because there's no planet B, right? So that doesn't mean that this industry has to stop. It means that the industry has to think. And actually, there's huge opportunities in the way in what we do. Monica talked yesterday about all of these things, how we can use different materials to lessen our impact upon the biosphere. Yeah? So I hope you all saw that fantastic keynote. If you're not convinced and you're not an eco-warrior, just do it, because our customers will not settle for less. And all of our customers I've talked to through the 6 months that I've been doing this job, every single one has wanted to be part of our sustainability village, which is a physical space that you will be able to come and see at IFA. And that's because they've been talking to their customers and all the buying groups and all the retailers who tell them that now sustainability and the credibility of your story around sustainability is either number 1 or number 2 in the decision-making process, where even just a year or so ago, it was maybe number 4 or number 5, behind price and the quality of the products and maybe the brand you loved, etc. Yeah? So ignore it at your peril, because if your brand or your hardware or anything about your company doesn't resonate, you'll feel it commercially. It's not all gloom and doom, right? Humanity, maybe there's another I, ingenuity. Human ingenuity might just save us. SpaceX is doing some interesting things. SpaceX are exhibiting and showing their Starlink technology at IFA from the 1st to the 5th of September in Berlin. Make sure you come and see it. It's something very special. That's it. Thank you, and thanks, Shiv.
Thank you, Oliver.
You're very welcome.
I think no further question for that one.
That's all.
Hope to see you then at IFA.
Thank you. Thanks.
And that's pretty much it. I don't want to add too much to it. I think we heard all of it, and I pretty much on the line, and I'm looking forward just to see you also at IFA. And it seems to be a very exciting because a lot of change is happening, and therefore there's nothing left to say like, that's it for the IMB, that's it for the innovation media briefing, and therefore I hope you just like made enough connections here, and actually also in the future are going to make even more and enjoy the IFA then when it starts in September. Thank you so much for your attention. Get back home safe and stay healthy. Thank you very much. Dankeschön.